The name Pallavi means new leaves, or a fresh bloom, in her native language, but at 68, Mrs. Pallavi Maji felt more like dry, brittle earth. Her sari, always a pristine white since her husband's passing 15 years ago, was a banner of her official widowhood and the quiet sorrow that had calcified around her heart. Pallavi lived in the spacious, silent apartment in Orissa, a home built brick by loving brick with her late husband, Govind. The apartment was now a museum of her past, meticulously maintained but utterly devoid of present joy. Every polished marble floor, every dust-free photograph of Govind's beaming face, was a testament to a life she no longer knew how to inhabit fully. Her greatest sorrow, the wound that never truly closed, wasn't Govind's death, but the subsequent estrangement from her son, Rohan Maji. Rohan, her only child, the boy she had poured her entire being into, was now a successful engineer living in Bhubaneswar. His calls were rote, scheduled for the third Saturday of every month at 9 p.m. her time, a transactional exchange that felt less like love and more like a managerial check-in. "Everything good, Amma? Did you take your medicines? Is the maid showing up?" Rohan's voice, transmitted across oceans, was tinged with an impatience that chipped away at Pallavi's dignity. She never told him the truth, that the medicines only dulled the ache of the days, that the maid often stole small items, a forgotten earring, a packet of cardamom, and that the only thing good was the brief hour she spent watching the sunset from her balcony, imagining a life where her son sat beside her. The root of their divide lay in a stubborn, unforgivable mistake she had made years ago. When Rohan had fallen in love with a foreign woman, a brilliant musician named Chitra, Pallavi, blinded by tradition and a fear of losing him entirely, had fiercely opposed the marriage. She had used every tool of guilt and emotional leverage. Rohan eventually married Chitra, but the victory was hollow. He moved away, taking his life, his warmth, and, most crucially, his forgiveness with him. Now, Rohan had two small children, a grandson and a granddaughter Pallavi had only ever seen in blurry video calls. They were faces without scent, without weight, phantoms of the family she was meant to have. She yearned to smell the powder on their skin, to feel the tug of their small hands on her sari, to tell them the old woman stories she had memorized. But she had been deemed unfit for those roles, a judgment she knew she had earned. One afternoon, sitting alone in the heavy heat, Pallavi picked up a photograph of a younger Rohan, grinning gap-toothed, holding a painting he'd made. Next to it was an unopened parcel from Puri. It was a new, expensive silk sari from Rohan for the upcoming festival. An expensive sari, a substitute for presents. Tears, which she rarely allowed to fall now, tracked paths down her wrinkled cheeks. Her sadness wasn't the noise of despair, but the terrible stillness of regret. She was still Rohan's mother, but she was no longer needed. She was a chapter he had closed, an unsung melody in the soundtrack of his life. She folded the expensive silk back into the box, its smooth texture mocking her empty hands. She was a queen without a kingdom, presiding over a dynasty of ghosts and, if onlys, waiting for the monthly